So what does it mean to be on your Grizzly? It means hard work, dedication, and it means progress beyond your Grizzly. Hard work, dedication, and progress.
I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. And if you're busy making moves, say it with me. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. And if you're busy making moves, say it with me.
Coming to you from the City of Angels, this is the Grizzly Podcast with Irvin Scott and Melissa Santos.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Grizzly Podcast. This is season 2. I am your host, Irvin Scott.
And I'm your host, Melissa Santos. What up?
What's going on? And today we are joined by a very special guest. He is a professional wrestler and a bodybuilder. He's also the husband of my co-host, Melissa Santos. Ladies and gentlemen, AEW's very own Brian Cage.
What up?
Yeah.
Only two screens.
Yeah.
Man, we've been trying to do this for a long time now. Perfect timing because, so much going on with you right now in AEW.
I knew that this was going to be coming, so I was like, you know what, let me just wait until I can get out of Team Taz and on my own, and that's just now finally started. So there's a lot of hopeful things on the horizon then.
I agree. A lot going on in your career right now, but man, let's talk about how it all started. So, Brian, you were born in Chico, California, huh? You attended Pleasant Valley High School. You graduated the same year as Green Bay Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers. Is that true?
That's
Yeah.
right. Yes.
Did you guys ever cross paths while you were in high school?
Yeah, no, we had plenty of classes together. It was funny too because in that time, that was like when everyone still watched wrestling, but like it wasn't cool to watch wrestling. So that even though everyone did, everyone tried to like fave it when they're at school, right? They're like, oh no, it's lame. But then everyone would like low key talk about it or wear the shirts. Aaron, who's the quarterback too, obviously the football team. But he was always really cool. I thought that was dope that he's one of the more like popular kids, but he was still down with wrestling and would always talk to me about it.
What made you just want to say, hey, you know what? I want to pursue a wrestling career.
At age 10, I said I wanted to do it. And I was like, just, the childhood dream. And it was like, yeah, you'll grow out of that. It'll pass. And it didn't. And like junior high, I was like, no, this is what I want to do. High school, no, this is what I want to do. College, is like, no, this is what I want to do. And actually, my counselor in my fourth semester encouraged me, technically, to drop out and pursue wrestling. I wanted to be an athletic trainer for like a sports team or something. I always loved WWE's like edits, like the music video edits and stuff they did, their packages. And so like I was like, okay, if I can't be a wrestler, like maybe I can get in doing like editing stuff or like being like a trainer. So I was like little plan Bs. But I wanted to be a wrestler so bad. And my counselor was like, man, you never stop talking about it. And she goes, you can always come back to school. You can only try to do this like once, really, like 100%. And I was like, are you encouraging me to drop out? She's like, well, I can't say that, but I mean, she kept saying, you can always come back. So I was like, all right, peace.
That was it.
Exactly.
The story was written there, right? You were hired by WWE in 2008. And while you were there, you were assigned to their farm territory. That was Florida Championship Wrestling. And that's where you worked as Chris Logan.
Yes. I know. I had to change my name from Brian Cage because that's right. Christian Cage jump ship to Impact. And he pulled out a little loophole to be able to keep his name. So then WWE like just didn't want anybody's names at all that you've ever used. So that could never happen. So I didn't want to change it, of course. Nobody does. But I was like, all right. So I did Chris. I spelled it with a K for Kanyon, both the spelling and the name. And then Logan, obviously, for Wolverine.
But before you even got there, I know you were saying that, you really wanted to do wrestling and that's what you wanted to do. And you're like in 4th year of college. But didn't you have a promotion that you ran? At what point did you run that promotion?
Oh, yeah, no, I was running it the whole time.
While you were in college?
Yeah, and I was working in school, yeah.
So he had like a backyard, like kind of promotion. Talk about that.
Okay, so I'll from the ground up. So how it kind of started, I lived at this place, this townhouse community called Manzanita Gardens in Chico, California. So I named it MWF, Manzanita Wrestling Federation. And I remember the first time we ever filmed it, because we never did, and my friend broke this like sheet of glass over my head. We were like, that's why it was cool, but the whole match was like, dude, why have we never done this before? So then just as it was a craze then, we just started to do, all of our backyard wrestling matches and semi-storylines and whatnot. We actually got our own ring and a real business license and started to get training. And then I would train Monday and Wednesdays out of school called Pro Championship Wrestling down in Yuba City. And then I would train with my guys Tuesday and Saturday mornings in Chico at our ring. And then we just started doing free shows there. And dude, it was booming. We get so many people come out, and then we just passed around the tip jar, and everybody put a bunch of money in. And then I was like, okay, we saved all that money up, and start running shows like regularly. That was one of the more stressful times in wrestling. Like, dude, running your own show is not easy, especially like because it was my show. So a lot of people would help, but at the end of the day, like if they didn't want to do it, like I had to make sure everything got done. So like, I remember being too. I worked at Copeland Sports, a sporting goods store, and the board shop. There's a big skateboarder too. And then I worked at the movie theater, Cinemark in Tinseltown, Cinemark 14. So I remember always being in the box office, and I'd print out all these test tickets, which is like the tickets, but not to any movie. And I'd be sitting there writing like every card for every day. Like, all right, here's the July cards. All right, here's the freaking cards, so on and so forth. Yeah, we ran a lot of shows. We were running like 2 to 3 times a month too. But yeah, so it blew up pretty quick, and then died kind of fast. Mainly just because it started, we kept switching venues, and the last venue we had was amazing, and that building ended up getting condemned. And then at that time too, it's when I started doing more and more of my own, like just traveling indie wrestling, kind of like let it go under. But it was a great time, and that's where I got to wrestle my idol and one of the big inspirations, Chris Kanyon, there in my hometown twice, which is still one of my favorite matches in my career, and also just my favorite moments in my life.
Let's talk about Chris Kanyon, because you mentioned him earlier. So Chris Kanyon, man, great guy, great wrestler. I know he was very influential in your career early on. What was your relationship like with him?
So I first met him. I was a huge fan of Kanyon. That's why I do so many innovative moves, or that's where I even kind of got the whole get my shit in and stuff, because I was really trying to do something cool, neat, new, whatever, just to stand out. Because every time he was out there, whether it be Mortis or switching over to Kanyon, even more so, he was always doing all these cool ass moves, and I pop every time. I'm like, man. So when we go out and we do those backyard wrestling too, all my moves I'd want to do would be his. When we played WCW Revenge, I always wanted to be his character because he had these cool moves and combos. So I was a huge fan of his. And then when he came to WWF, because I watched them both the whole time, but I was definitely more pro WWF. And when he came over there, he was the first time I was going to see him live, and I popped huge for it. So I made a Who Better the Kanyon sign, and we were 6th row. And it was the Austin Appreciation Night with Kurt Angle comes out and sprays them all with milk. So as they're all cutting their promos and blah, 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 put over Austin, and Kanyon gives them the Who Better Than Austin shirt. Somebody throws something in the ring, and Tommy Dreamer takes one corner, and Kanyon takes the other corner. He's the corner like directed at me. So I set up on my seat, and I'm waving my sign, and it's Kanyon's like mean mugging the crowd. He looks right at me. I know he sees the sign. I know he sees me. I feel stoked. I'm like, mission accomplished. Fast forward, Kurt Angle comes out, sprays him with milk, blah, blah. They go off the air. They do a little bit. As they're going up, Kanyon starts like pointing at me, like when they're like leaving. And like I kind of point at myself, and he goes, yeah, and he gives me a thumbs up. And I was like, oh, so I'm popping huge. My brother's like, oh shit, he just gave me a thumbs up. And as we're like walking up the stairs, my brother's like, oh, I bet you can see the wrestlers like behind the Titantron as we get up the stairs. And I look, like, no, you can't. I look again, and I see what looks like to be Kanyon coming out from like around the side of the Titantron, like over by where the safety rails was. So I just lost it. I turned around and ran down the stairs through everyone, and I sprinted like all the way right into like the this is a big markup moment right here, right? So right to the safety rail. I then run into the safety rail, like fall over, and he kind of catches like, whoa, easy kid. And he goes, oh, here you go, and he gives me the Who Better Than Austin shirt, which I still have. And so I'm like, I got the sign. He recognized it. Oh, sweet. I'm freaking out. We go out to where their cars are, and I'm just sitting there.
He's just chasing them down.
Dude, because like everybody can't believe it. They're like, "Whoa, you gave me the shirt!" Like, just random people and stuff. And not very many people come take pictures, autographs, but people come out. And like I remember at that time too. I always compared this part of the story to Saving Private Ryan. You seen that movie? It's a great movie too, but where everything was silent and you can't hear anything, and it's just like they're all yelling at him and stuff, and then finally and all the sound comes in. He's like, "Come on, man, we gotta get whatever." Mm-hmm. So like complete silence. I don't hear anybody screaming. All these other wrestlers are out there, it's Matt Hardy, Lita, whoever, doesn't matter. I'm just no-selling everyone. It's just super quiet. And then as soon as like Kanyon walks out, I'm like, oh, and my brother, my friend were like, there he is. I'm like, just frozen. It's frozen. I can't hear anything. And finally, it was so loud. I'm like, boom, I'm like, oh, and I wave my sign. And he runs over and he signs the sign and he signs the shirt. And I'm marking out huge. And he said, thanks, kid. He goes, oh, you don't see too many Kanyon signs in the crowd these days. So like that, it was amazing. And going back to you asking me like how I want to be a wrestler, I already did my whole life. But because of how incredible, even to this day, remember how incredible that night made me feel, made me want to be a wrestler that much more so that I could in return make somebody else's night that much more memorable. So I posted that whole story like on his website. I remember the webmaster, this guy named Jared, like had forwarded it to him, and then he emailed me, and Kanyon did, and he just thanked you again, and he goes, "Oh, feel free to wherever contact me." So of course, I wrote him like 10 emails every day, I'm sure. It was not excessive, but whatever. And then he got hurt shortly after that, and so I talked to him here and there, and I happened to be there when he made his return in SmackDown. I happened to just be live in Bakersfield, and that's when we did like the Board George angle with Undertaker. Which has supposedly been now controversial because they said it was because they knew he was gay, and that they were like trying to make a mockery of him. But regardless, so we just stayed in touch, and I started getting this more comp tickets. I'd hang out with him afterwards. He knew how much I wanted to be a wrestler, and I would always say, "Oh, I'd love to wrestle you." And he's like, "Okay, well, if you guys ever get stuff booming, whatever, maybe that could happen." And I thought it'd just be nice. He came in absolutely free, didn't charge me a dime. I wanted to put him over so bad, and he wouldn't let it. And he's like, no, it's your hometown, it's your fed, you have to go over. But yeah, the match was incredible. I loved it. And then we did another a round 2 of it with the Sweet storyline several months later, and then we made it a Hurricane Katrina relief benefit show. But yeah, so we just stayed really good friends, and then he moved back to Atlanta, and I told me, he's like, hey, I know you wanted to come out here and do this. He goes, if you want, you can come stay with me. And so I wasn't contracted in Deep South, which was FCW before FCW. But I got in, and I was like one of the only uncontracted guys that was at every training, every show, every house show for an opportunity to get signed. And unfortunately, Deep South closed down before I did get signed. And then they moved everything down to Steve Kern in FCW in Florida. But because I was there, I was already on the radar. So shortly afterwards, I got booked to do actually 2 that you guys had him on. There's actually big things. That's when I lived with Kanyon. I'm all over the place now. Is how I met Luke as well when I was living out with Kanyon in Atlanta. Luke Hawks.
Yeah, Luke Hawks. Shout out to him.
We're really good friends. He actually is a big reason why I got called and I got booked for my 3 extra spots in WWE, which led to me getting signed. So I know I was talking to him.
I didn't even know this.
I was talking to him, and because he was cool with Bill Behrens, and Bill had, and even though Bill didn't book a lot of people for California, because they usually have guys to go to for different states, hey, who's some local guys we could use. So I remember he talked to Bill about me, and I remember Luke had even called me. He goes, hey, have you had called by anybody or anything yet? And I go, no, about what? And he goes, oh, I was just checking. And he goes, but you'll probably be getting a call soon. And I got an email booking me for those extra dates. Actually, it was Tommy Dreamer that had emailed me. And then while I was there, it helped out because I had already been to Deep South, so some of the guys already knew me in the office and whatnot. And I actually ended up getting knocked out in my match. Completely, the first time I ever got knocked out cold. And I was as nervous as I can even get still to this day at certain matches. I wasn't nervous at all. It's first time WWE. Well, I'd done a couple of backstage stuff when I was in Atlanta, but I didn't do anything. I just sat there and ate catering. And we got there.
He likes to eat. So.
Well, it was always pay-per-views or something. So we weren't going to do anything at those. So anyways, Jamie Noble walks past everyone. There's 6 of us out there. And remember, TJ Perkins was there too. And he walks past everybody. He comes right to me. And he goes, damn, boy, you look good. Let's see if you can wrestle. That's a good part of the line. He said, you look good. We're not going to use you because you look good. He goes, let's see if you can wrestle. So again, then I start chaining. And I love chaining. And when I was small, I could chain a lot better. I started rolling around with Noble, who's phenomenal. And he stops and goes, oh, yeah, we're definitely using you tonight. So then he goes through some other guys. He finds out who's going to be my partner. And then he comes up to me and goes, hey, I want you to come meet Johnny Ace. And I go, okay. And he goes over there and he introduced me to Johnny Ace. And we talk. And Johnny's like, oh, I haven't seen you before. I'm like, yeah, I was in Deep South, whatever, yada, yada. And then he leaves and it was super positive. And Noble was like, hell yeah, boy, we're going to get you signed tonight. Like he was super. So like, I'm not nervous at all. And I'm working Shannon Moore, who I knew and I already met from Kanyon a couple times as well, because he's part of that crew. And then Jimmy Wing Yang, which is cool enough, but he's a really easy guy. I'm like not nervous about the match. I'm so stoked. I'm all but signed, I feel like I'm in cloud 9. So I remember there being a bunch of little like mini candy bars by Gorilla, and I started eating some of those, and I put on some baby oil and stuff, banding up, doing the curls. Like, here we go. I don't remember anything else because I do because I've seen it, but as far as my perspective and my memory, it's gone. So in the match, I'm putting heat on Moore, and he finally gets the hot tag, and I'm feeding around for this huge crossbody that Jimmy Wing Yang does, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna bump the shit out of this crossbody. So good right now. And as he comes off, I turn around, I jump up super high in the air, and I catch him, and like my feet go head over heels, right on top of the back of my head, and I'm out cold. I got the stiff arms and everything.
Stop it!
And
oh my God.
And Jimmy goes and he pops my peppers my partner off the corner and turns back around for me for like to bump and feed. And I'm just laying there because I'm unconscious. And Finley is queuing up the referee, like, oh, he's out, just pin him. And Noble's like waiting, and Noble comes over, or excuse me, not Noble, Jimmy Wing Yang comes over, and he kicks the shit out of me too. It's like what the hell are you doing, kid? Get up. And I'm just dead. And then the rest of the time I get in his earpiece, like, no, he's out, pin him. So he pins me, 1, 2, as you say, we kick out on instinct. I did. I still kicked out.
What the hell?
And the referee's like, oh, 3, ring the bell. And it just counted me out anyways. And then Shannon Moore comes in and goes to like shit can me out of the ring. And as he goes to take me out, the ref's like, no, he's hurt. And he lets go. And I feel like, oh shit, I don't know. And then I'm like drunk, dirty style boxing right here like this. And all of a sudden I just go back out and I fall backwards. And I just go doom, down the top, middle, bottom rope. They come out there and they start checking on me and everything. And I look so like I'm with it. Like I think I can be around my mouth. I'm like, oh yeah, don't worry, I can sell it. I'll sell it. Oh yeah, and I don't remember any of this. I remember I was backstage, and I kept saying like, by my friend relaying this info to me. My friend kept saying like yeah, you're back there going like, wait, where am I? What time is it? What happened? And I looked to the right.
I remember this story. This part of the story.
And my friend Joe was gonna pick me up. I go, PCW Joe, what are you doing here?
So you don't remember even saying that? Someone had to tell you like this is what you were doing.
And I've had a few of these concussions now, which isn't good, right?
That's not a good thing. Yeah.
Only a few. But
this is the first time you ever were in a WWE ring.
Yep.
And you got knocked out unconscious.
Yep. So the next day, I'm like, great, what happened now? So they won't let me get in the ring because I have a concussion. So I'm just chilling there. I'm talking to Noble. I'm like, yo, did I just screw the pooch? Like I thought I was getting a job yesterday. Like what happened? He goes, oh man, you took a hell of a bump, kid. Shit happens. He goes, but we got your information. They're going to Australia for 2 weeks. He goes, we can be in touch. And I go, okay, cool. And I go, nah, that ain't gonna work for me. I'm like, where's Johnny Ace at? So I was walking around looking for Johnny Ace. Show's over, and I see him, and I'm like trying to like stay in the distance, like just waiting for an opportunity. I realized an opportunity wasn't gonna be come available. So I said, all right, it's now or never. I'm going to take my shot. So I walk over to him. He's talking to a few different people. And I go, excuse me, Johnny. He's like, I don't mean to interrupt. And I put my hand out, shake his hand. And he just looks at me and goes, yeah, kid, well, that's what you're doing. And he turns his back to me and walks away. And I was like, oh.
Fuck.
Wow.
So I went from oh, he wants to watch my match. Make sure I come talk to him afterwards, blah, blah, blah. Jamie was like, oh, we're getting you signed to that. I was like, damn. So I was pretty defeated, but I was like, whatever. I had these were 2 SmackDown tapings, and then I had Raw Live the next day. So I was like, all right, I'm so booked for that. And I get paid for that. I go, I'll go eat some more catering. The catering's bomb there. So I go there, and Raw had a different, since this was SmackDown, Raw had a different everyone almost. So I guess no one knew that I was concussed. So I snuck my way back into the ring, and I was wrestling. And then I remember I was trying to leave, and then Crime Time wanted to go over some spots with me. Because they recognize the skills, they appreciate it.
That's so cool.
The Chad JTG. Yeah. And then I was like the last guy to come back. And as soon as I got changed, the radio closed, I went out to the hallway to watch Raw, like literally I leaned against the wall to like get position, and Johnny Ace is there, and he goes, "Excuse me, sir." Well, "Hey kid, you got a minute?" And I go, "Oh, okay." So we go into his office, and he did technically apologize. Like, "Oh, I apologize for being a dick the other day." He goes, "But I mean, when you do say, I don't mean to interrupt you, that is what you're doing. You're interrupting somebody." And he goes, "So tell me this, how can you make me money?" And now, mind you, that 2 days prior, I was confident as hell. I didn't have a worry. Like, this caught me all off guard. I went from a high to a low. Now I'm all caught off guard, surprised. And he asked me that question. I go, I do stuff. I didn't know what to say. I was like, I got cool moves. And he goes, stop it. He goes, you have to be more confident. He goes, when I saw you, I thought we might sign you based on the way you looked, and I wanted to see how you worked and see how confident with you. So that's why, even though I was a dick to you, I actually was pretty impressed and proud that you came over and like tried to do it yourself. He goes, that shows some real confidence. Like, okay. He's like, yeah, so you just need to be a more confident kid. So I don't think I'm getting like the, hey, good job, we'll be in touch thing. And I'm like, oh, okay. I was like, well, I appreciate that. And he goes, yeah, he starts just kind of put me over, but it's kind of like, but we're not going to, that's it. And then all of a sudden he goes, are you willing to go to Florida? And I go, wait, what? And he goes, yeah, you want to go to Florida? And I go, yeah, I don't care. He goes, all right, we'll go find Mark Carano, get the paperwork started. You're hired. And I was like, what? I walked out of the room, and I just sat there like dumbfounded, mainly because I had no idea who Mark Carano was. I didn't know who I was going to go talk to. But and then the other extra guys over there were like, did you just get signed? I'm like, yeah, I think so. And then Chad and JTG heard about it too and came and congratulated me as well. But yeah, then that's how I made my way over to FCW.
After WWE, or after you left Florida Championship Wrestling, you began working in the Indies, and most notably Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. Let's talk about Pro Wrestling Guerrilla.
Yeah, that's it. So even then, let's go back to so being developmental, right? I'm contracted. I'm a salary paid wrestler for WWE. I'm like, this is awesome. Huge, awesome roster with me. I love my time there. I get released. And it's not like it's NXT where you get like some sort of clout while you're there, It's basically like I stopped wrestling for a couple of years. So now, and then I moved to SoCal, my good friend Brandon Bonham, who I had my debut match with at PWG. But I'm sitting there with him, and I didn't wrestle in SoCal a whole lot. So now I'm like trying to start over, like all the way over. So now I'm like basically went from being a signed WWE talent to begging to get on shows for $20 all over again. And I was like, damn. So when people talk about that kind of stuff too, I'm like, I did though? I was like, that sucks. But I said, forget it. Whatever. I got to do what I got to do. I'll suck it up. I'll do it. I'll go kill it at the show. And then, I went to one show. They're like, oh yeah, we want your next show. Here's $40. And then, here's $60. And then here's it. You start just proving your worth. And then, then I was trying to get into PWG, and I finally got into PWG. Another one of my favorite matches with my friend I had mentioned before, Brandon Bonham. And I owe so much to PWG, as do a lot of people, because it was just such a premier group of talent he'd always bring in, just the elite. And that's why everybody wants to work there, because it's such a great card, such a great crowd. And that's like, I went from that to being able to travel, the first time I went to Toronto or any other out of the country, and people would know my name and be like, get your shit. And I'm like, what? Just from PWG DVDs? Like, this is crazy that it's has this reach. And fun enough too, just put out there too, PWG actually, does this phenomenal, but they don't always pay everyone as much as like you would get paid everywhere else. It's almost because they don't have to, because it's so over and everybody wants to work there. But it's because you get so over, even if you don't get paid as much as you would hope you would get paid at
you PWG, eventually will.
It enables you to get paid so much more everywhere else.
It raises your stock.
So, and that's another reason too. Like then I ended up I was just always booked, and then there's a couple times I was asked to work there. Before I just hadn't worked there anymore. But I was just always booked, and it was like, all right, at that point, to go work this show for little money, and I wasn't going to get any more of a rub from it. I was already, there. I think, especially if I was already booked and I'm getting paid 4 times the amount that he would offer me elsewhere, it's like, and do less. I still would love to work PWG maybe even more time just to have a proper farewell, but it'd have to be like a perfect match for it.
Remember when you got me on PWG?
I did. That was your first indie show, wasn't it?
The first time I got a microphone to the mouth by Roderick Strong. I hated him after that. I was like, oh my God. he just almost busted my tooth. Like I was like, this is indie. This is real life. So It was as indie as it was going to be. It was like 150 degrees in there. I was fucking slipping and sliding all over the place, like holding the mic. I was like sweat. It was just intense. It's like the most, I feel like it was my first time ever being an indie show. And
she was really just sweating that much because she was crushed on Brian Cage.
We were not dating like that.
Yeah. She I will say this.
I had a crush on him. He was there with his ex-wife, so I couldn't properly
But let's, we're just gonna keep going back and forth now. I will say this to put myself over. I remember the guy she was dating. I see his name come up on her phone as she's talking to me. And she goes, just ignores that and keeps talking.
You're Brian Cage, right?
Horrible. It kind of worked out.
After wrestling and Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, you were hired to appear in El Rey Network's Lucha Underground, and there you performed as Cage. So you weren't Brian Cage; it was just Cage, right?
Yeah. I remember Conan. I did a tryout for
I
AAA.
forget that. I don't know why I always feel like you're Brian Cage everywhere. But
I did a tryout for AAA a little while before that, and Conan loved me, and I was really cool with Norman Smiley from FCW, who's tied with Conan. But then just business went bad in AAA, and there's a bunch of like drug and cartel stuff. And he goes, "It's better if you just don't stay there." He goes, "But we're trying to get to," he said, "We'll bring you down here when we can, but even then, we're trying to get to the States." And he goes, "When we do that, we definitely want to use you." And they got tied up first on that MTV2 show, that Lucha Libre USA?
Yeah, I remember that one. Mm-hmm.
I actually thought that's what it was when I actually auditioned. And
then it basically became Lucha Underground, which is what it was trying to become. And
I remember that was the title when I went to audition. It said Lucha Libre USA on there. Like I didn't know it was Lucha Underground. Yeah.
But actually, funny enough too, Christopher Joseph, who was like the head writer, and Conan and a couple other people all came to PWG. I got them in. And they sat on the stage. And then they watched me work my match that night, who I worked against, Roderick Strong, and I whooped his ass and I won too. No, actually, I think he won. But I still whooped it. It was a good match. It was my favorite match for PWG.
He's good.
But yeah, no, the Lucha Underground was still even to this day has been my favorite time period. It was so cool, and they wanted me to. They weren't going to change my name.
Like you met me. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's so memorable because you met your wife there. You met Melissa, and you guys started dating there, right?
All right, no.
I was off from the 559. Just kidding. No, that wasn't happening there.
The Joseph didn't want me to change my name. I go, no. And then he's like, oh, the network does kind of want to change your name, though. I was like, no. He goes, I know it sucks. And I came with a couple ideas, and he came with a couple ideas, and I'm like trying to decide what we should do. And then I just go, dude, you know what? No, these suck. I don't want to do this. I want to keep my name. And he goes, okay, let me see what I can do. So he goes, all right. He said, what if you don't go by Brian Cage, but you go by just Cage? I go, well, I still own the intellectual property to that. I'm like, I know, but they just think that it makes a difference. I go, I mean, whatever. I don't care. Most people call me anyways, Cage, so that works. And he goes, but then on top of that, he goes, we want you to change your look. And I'm like what? Like pants or something? So he goes, we don't want you to be in your indie attire. So I don't want you like in shoes and kick pads and trunks. I'm like, so you want pants and boots? He goes, no, a lot of people look like that too, and I want you to stand out. And he goes, so I think we want you to put you like boots and a singlet. And I go, a singlet? He goes, you don't have to, have your abs out to see that you have abs. Like, no, but I already get compared to Ryback enough, and I don't want to go looking like Ryback now as well. I remember that was like my number one thing. But then it worked out, and a lot of people liked the singlet, and it was cool to fire up and Kurt Angle the straps down. And anytime the catering too at Lucha Underground was amazing.
No, honestly, it was amazing.
And sometimes they'd have so many desserts. I'd always stockpile my stuff like a chipmunk for winter in my hotel room. But some desserts was like, it's like meltable or whatever. You had to eat right then and there. So anytime that those desserts were too good to refuse, that's when the singlet came real handy and the straps just stayed up. I'm like, I'll just keep the straps up today.
I want to touch because I was like looking him up right now because I was trying to remember. So also what people don't know is that actually some of the people that were involved, like it's factory made ventures. They're the ones who were basically partnered with the El Rey Network, and they were in charge of also choosing talent. John Fogelman, shout out to you. Probably not watching this, but John Fogelman used to be the head of William Morris Agency, which is one of the biggest top two agencies in the world of talent. And he was an owner, right? So co-owner. He didn't like Brian.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
John Fogelman did not like him, and
he saw me.
He saw him, and
Saw me walk out as a big, like I get criticized for anybody else in this day and age.
And we're talking about a huge talent agent, right? Who he literally founded the careers of like Salma Hayek and like people like that. So he's like, go ahead.
So anyways, everybody sees me like, they don't know me. They see me walk out as a big muscular guy, and they go, "Oh, great, some shitty bodybuilder guy who's not a wrestler, some throwback, 80s guy with no athleticism." So he's like, "This guy looks like some WWE wrestler. This is not what we're trying to be. I don't want him here. He sucks." And then he goes, "Who got him here? Who referred him?" And Conan's like, "Oh, I did." And he still wasn't happy. I was like, "Yeah, he's not gonna last."
Until he saw you.
And then until he saw me work, like most people do, then they go, "Oh shit, this guy can go." And then we're best friends.
So he went from like they see him, like I don't want him, like put him on, one of our television shows. Yeah. And actually you're probably the one wrestler that was being used all the time on different things. They brought you on to do like some stuff, like, right. Like some intro, outro stuff for the LRA network.
And, we were freaking over the top and stuff.
I did some like voiceover stuff for them actually as well. So I did a bunch of stuff for them too. I feel like you and we'd roll up to like the LRA network and it's like, "Hi, Mr. Cage. Hi, Miss Santos." And like, we just park in the front, but like a lot of talent wasn't being used that way. And like, we kind of crossed over a little bit. It was really
also
neat. Yeah.
originally the only talent that was AAA and Lucha Underground. For the first couple seasons. Yeah.
So you went in there and you did your thing. Like, so you did a lot of stuff. So let's talk about AAA a little bit. You even did like a kind of crazy Trump gimmick there, pissing everybody off in Mexico.
Too, it didn't really piss that many people off in Mexico. It pissed more people off in the States.
I thought they were kind of mad that you were there. He was doing the presidential, bad guy, bad Trump.
In Mexico, if you just, Viva USA, then they're like, boo.
Yeah, but when you show up with El Trump.
So I came back from Mexico, and my workout partner, who's Mexican, he's like, "Oh man, did you hear that interview with Trump?" I go, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "Oh, he said like he called everybody from Mexico like rapists and killers and whatever else." I go, "What, really?" And my first thought was, "Hell yeah, I'm gonna get a Trump T-shirt for wrestling to go wear to."
This is perfect.
Because I was such a heel there, and that was when I was feuding with Del Rio. And like that was when Del Rio was like the hottest he's ever been, like outside WWE. So then I did that and ran with it, and he got super over. But yeah, and I've gotten to headline Triple Mania a few times. It's been that's been fun. I'm actually booked to go down there in a couple of weeks again too. So
that eventually led you to Impact Wrestling. Let's talk about Impact Wrestling. How did that whole thing come about?
So I had a dark match for TNA at the time, and then was supposed to come back for a couple other ones. They stayed in touch with me, and this probably went for over a year. And I even got comped to a couple different gut check, like little tryouts they used to do. Not the actual show or the competition on TV, but these.
But you were also on that as well.
No, I know, I'm not there yet. But so like that was like the little tryout camp, and like they were loving me, and like and they kept leading me on. I'm like, man, what's going on? What's happening here? Finally got myself and my former tag team partner Eli Drake, both of his dark matches. But I think he had a tryout with WWE, so he didn't go.
It was LA Night now. For those of you watching right now.
And I went there and I had my gut check match against Brad J. And I remember the match was fine, and I remember everyone was like praising me. And the next week, because it was like shoot, and their way too. Remember, Al Snow called me to book me for it. He goes, "Hey, don't worry, we want to sign you. We're going to sign you either way. If you do this," he goes, "shoot, so you may win, you may not, but either win or lose, you're just going to get signed that much faster if you do it." So I was like, "Okay, whatever." So I remember I was winning the Twitter poll. I had no social media clout at all at that time either. But I was winning the Twitter poll on it all. Everyone backstage was high on me. We go out there and they don't pick me. Are you kidding me? I didn't get to cut my promo either. I just get eliminated. I couldn't believe it. And I remember everyone backstage too was even like, "What? They didn't pick you?" I mean, even like Hardy and Sting and like everyone was like, "What? And then they pulled me aside, and Snow and Bruce Pritchard literally said, especially Bruce, he's like, he's like, "You have the look, the charisma, the athleticism, the body, the ability. I mean, you have it all. You're nearly perfect." And I go, "But you didn't pick me?" And he goes, then they literally almost go, he almost goes, like, "I think you should basically forget about this place and just go to WWE. And I'm like, I'm not trying to go to WWE right now. And I'm like, you guys are going to say I'm like a perfect talent and then go, you should go work elsewhere. And then Snow's like, don't worry, we'll be in touch and we'll be using you again, I'm sure. And I go, okay. So it didn't happen. And like a year later, I got called to do the Destination X match. And this was when they're up in New York and Low-Key was returning. They had 3 returning people. Low-Key was returning, but he was already signed. Homicide was returning because he walked to the venue. He lived down the street from it. And then I was making a return, which I only did that one gut check on TV. And they're flying me from California. So I'm like, yo, you guys have plenty of people you could, Amazing Red in the New York area that you guys could have used. Why are you going to fly me from California? And they literally said, well, let's just say some of management realized we might have made a mistake with gut checks. This is kind of our way to, try to make amends. And then I remember in person, like, so we're going to be working again then? And they just gave me a wink and goes, yeah, just hang on. So we go out there, we do the match. And I'm CC'd in all the emails too after that match for a while until they got pulled off the Spike because I remember the email that Dixie Carter sent out, like and accidentally CC'd like the CEO of Spike or whatever, and basically was like burying them. So they got kicked off of Spike, and then all of a sudden just radio silence again for me. But they said they were going to hire me anyway. I just didn't know it was going to be 5 years later. So 5 years later, I do get hired by Impact. They had like a loosely partnership with a few of the guys with AAA and Lucha Underground, and I got to debut while we were filming season 4 of Lucha Underground, and so let's do both at the same time. And I loved my time there. I thought, especially when I first got there, the roster that they had there was amazing. Maybe second only to the Lucha Underground's roster. I liked all the talent and creative. It was great. And hey, I am the only guy who's lost gut check, but then became an Impact World Champion and X Division Champion. Was
there an issue too when you were doing Impact Wrestling and season 4 of Lucha Underground had not aired? I heard there was like a big issue over people weren't able to appear on television because they were under contract.
Yeah, so like the contract had, and that's what was kind of like I guess the one bad deal with Lucha Underground. So it was you literally had a TV show contract. You didn't have a wrestling contract. Mm-hmm. So most wrestling contracts, usually you have a salary like X amount of dollars. You get paid that over the year. You're signed for however many years. So this was a 7 cycle, which means 7 season deal, which means they could film 7 seasons in 2 years or 25 years, right? But you were glued to that, and then it prevented you from working as per like Ring of Honor TV, Impact TV, WWE TV. You can still do all your indies and stuff. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever. And a lot of people wanted to get it shorter, but it was booming, it was cooking, and it felt great. Season 4 just took a big dump, and that's why I didn't go anywhere after that. But Impact reached out. He said they got some partnership with AAA, and that's all. So AAA had stock and Lucha Underground, so they're able to get a few, like me and Morrison and Taya and stuff. So it didn't bother me because, I was already still working. Plus, other people might have had different stuff in their jobs, but I know in my contract it had 6 months without any work, and my contract was non-void. So I was stressing about it either which way. I can't say that everyone's contract had that, but I think some people made a bigger deal about it than what they needed to. I know other people did have like offers on the table and they just legally weren't able to sign it. Mm-hmm. And then, so like, that was like for a few of them, I understand that. Cause like, if this is all but done, like it's done, season 4 is over, it's done. There's like this small chance of coming back, but it's really not going to come back. And if it does, it's not going to happen for you.
There was like a moment when they like messaged everyone and was like, hey, we might be shooting the next season like in 2 weeks, and then that just never happened.
Yeah. So like, so they didn't want to let people go for that, but like you have all these other guys that want to work and they have a job opportunity lined up right there at the doorstep.
Perfect example was Ricochet.
Yeah.
That was like
that was before it went out.
No, but what I'm saying is a perfect example of like that the contract interfering with possibly signing. So he had to wait for a while. And again, this is something that is known now, but he had to wait. And again, it was just the nature of the contract. I don't think it was something that was done and to harm the talent, but because we're talking contracts and we're talking TV and it's just all complicated.
And that's the big thing because it wasn't a wrestling based company. That's why it was different.
Yeah, so it's different, and a lot of hands involved. You had the El Rey Network, you had MGM, you had AAA.
Like other investors.
A lot of investors.
There's way too many chefs in the kitchen. That's why.
That's why it went down the drain, is in my opinion.
The showrunner, Eric, who worked for MGM, they wanted to buy it out outright. And just MGM owned it all and just be their show. They do whatever they want with it. Yeah, MGM and Skip from El Rey. Skip did all the.
Well, Skip was the director, so that's different. So like MGM was the monies, right? So we're talking about the acquisitions, like they were basically the monies, and then obviously they produced other shows, but and then you had the El Rey network, which involved they owned the TV rights. Yeah. They owned the TV rights, and so they were the ones like basically, and then that's where Skip came in. Skip is like Robert Rodriguez, like second-hand man, like his right-hand man, I'm sorry. And so he would come in and through Robert's vision would make what we saw. Like Skip was Lucha Underground. What we saw was his vision.
He's the one that always did all the cool cinematics backstage and stuff.
So that's what he worked with. He's the one who brought in the stunt people, like train us and like do all kinds of cool stuff. So
but I just lost my train of thought. What was I saying?
No, but you're talking about the contracts.
Eric, and Eric Wagner too. He was the one that was he was trying to set up house shows. He was trying to set up merchandising and all this kind of stuff.
Cricket Wireless was involved.
And then like every time he kept kind of push it forward, everyone else would be like, and kind of like. So Eric's like, man, if we would have just had it under our control the whole time, right? I didn't have to ask permission from everybody. He goes, we could have done so much more.
And Eric is a huge wrestling fan. Like he's like, I feel like, really involved in wrestling now more so than ever. And so like he, like many became enamored with the project because it was so special.
I remember they had so many different merchandise deals that they didn't want to do because they want to invest more money in it, like get more money back. Meanwhile, they have Rey Mysterio, who's like one of the biggest merch people ever, and you guys spent $1 gazillion on this guy, and you could have made so much money off of you to make anything with that. Like.
Yeah, did they even sell any mask of his? Like, I don't even remember seeing that.
People people were making their own stuff and like selling it on eBay and stuff like that.
Like,
there was so much need for merch.
They had a couple regular Lucha Underground like shirts and hoodies. That's it. Like all the character stuff, they could have done so much.
The
and,
masks.
And Eric kept on working out deals, and then everyone would just say no.
I don't. Yeah, and again, we don't know that side of the businesses, again, what they had in mind, I can't even imagine what that looks like, but that was a lot of the reason why it went under. So again, so Lucha Underground, Impact, so back to Impact Wrestling. So you ended up back in Impact Wrestling, and killed it over there.
He won the X Division title, and eventually he went on to win the World Championship. So kudos to you. You basically did your thing everywhere. You were in WWE, you were in Lucha Underground, you did the indie stuff. You basically wrestled all kinds of people, but one of the feuds that actually stands out to me is the feud with Tessa Blanchard. Man, what a feud that was, right? I know she's a good friend of yours, so talk to me about how that whole process came about, who talked who into doing the feud, and what was the word backstage?
So, okay, Tessa and I are really good friends, and originally, the first time I worked Tessa was at Wrestle Circus. I remember she used to always joke about wanting to work me and Ricochet would when they were together too. Like, I want to see that match. And then Wrestle Circus took a little hiatus, and they were coming back. They were going to have me work Trent.
And Wrestle Circus, for those of you who are not aware of who's what.
It's like a PWG Texas. It's no longer around, but that was my favorite indie.
It was great, yes.
So I was like, hey, that's cool. I can defend the title against Trent. It'll be a good indie match, whatever. I go, I was only kind of thinking about it. I was like, maybe we should do Tessa and I, because Tessa was super over there too, and she was a double champion. She was like the IC champion and the women's champion. And he was like, oh, I don't know. I go, dude, trust me, good or bad, it's going to get way more buzz than if you just book me versus another good indie wrestler. It's like it's the same old song and dance. So I ended up doing it, and it was great. I remember it definitely got super over. The two good feats I had there was with Morrison, Mundo, Impact, whatever you want to call him, and Sammy Callahan, actually, which she was involved with. But no, the Tessa one, it was just the one. And everybody says too, I lost the world title to her. I lost the world title to Sammy Callahan. But no, she was in the last entry in like the little gauntlet survival match or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then she rolled me up out of the Weapon X and wanted to go on to beat Sammy for the world title.
Which was, I don't know. I don't really agree with it. Even to this day, it was just like, I mean, I don't know. It's my least favorite moment for him. And not because it's Tessa. It's just like, it was just so random in my opinion. And just, I don't know. Because he was so strong the whole time. And then all of a sudden, Tessa,
Well, I mean, I put the match together as best I could to make it good.
To make it make
This
sense.
is good. I've worked Tessa quite a few times. We have good matches. and I go out there and I'm a pro, and I feel like I'm super versatile in who I work with, so I can work with anyone. But yeah, to Melissa's, to agree with Melissa, like, yeah, they had me go there and they had me beat Lashley back to back and send EC3 out the door, and win the titles, and I went undefeated for a long time. And then she get beat by Tessa like that. And two, also, we'll throw him under the bus. Don hates intergender wrestling. Hates it. And he would get so mad when, like, because I bar wrestling, I worked Tessa too, like when she was the women's champion.
You can't do
the knockout champion, and I was exited champion. And he was like so upset about it. He's like, oh. But then he's the one booking it to free. And I was really mad because
they told you weren't going to do it.
Because the day before
I was there.
I went. That's why we're really hot about it. I did whatever run in and stuff, and I go, so what's the plan for tomorrow? What are we doing? For the next TV taping. He goes, oh, I think you're in the the survival gauntlet match for the title. And I go, okay. I was like, so what's the idea? And I just assumed, I was like, are you guys trying to have me be at the end and lose to Tessa? And he literally goes, oh, no, that would never happen. He goes, we've already shoved Tessa down everyone's throats too much, and like, you go and take so much for it's like too much or like too unbelievable. Where it's like, oh, come on, guys, like that would do it. That would kill it. He went on forever about how it's not happening. That wouldn't happen. It would never happen. I go, okay, cool. I get there. Tessa Blanchard, Brian Cage. Her name's underlined. I'm like, what the fuck is this? So I remember like, yeah, that's what was more because because he just straight lied to me about it.
Yeah. So it was more like it was the principle that he was, that the conversation had been had, and this is again not throwing Impact under the bus. It's just like, it's wrestling can be a sticky situation. It's like we just had, we talked about this in an interview, just a prior interview, where it's just things change in a second, and then at the end of the day, the talent is the one that just kind of has to go with it. Sometimes
I still like that match though, as far as
it was still
a good match.
It didn't make any sense in my mind why that is happening.
Well, I mean, like put Tessa over to go beat Sammy, and because Sammy put her over too, right? And they were just trying,
but not over strong guy. I just have a certain. Sure. I used to have certain.
No, I know.
But many people have certain ideas of how he's supposed to be.
They were only doing that to obviously get the big rub, which is also for Tessa when the only woman to ever won a world title. But
absolutely, this has nothing to do with her. It's
they were doing that more though for themselves, not for Tessa, because they're trying to get the big woman empowerment rub. Like, oh look, we're making our champion a woman. And then it kind of blew up with all them.
No, and then with the women empowerment thing, I think it's great that women are doing that. I'm not against intergender wrestling. I'm like for a good booking. I mean, if it makes sense, it makes sense. I just think like, sometimes Brian shouldn't be booked with like a Marco Stunt, like going against like a Marco Stunt. Do you know what I mean? Like just the size difference is so drastic. I just feel like that kind of has to make sense, and you can do it, but like how it's done is really like, I feel like the psychology behind it has to be like there has to be it just has to be creatively put together the right way. And I'm not saying that wasn't put together right. I just feel like after him being so strong for so long, that's how, he got taken out. It just didn't make any sense to me. And I feel like when you're doing intergender, because you have a female and a male, no matter how strong a female is, that's still a male, no matter what. Unless it's maybe a Marco Stunt and a Tessa. Then, right? Most of the time, it's not like that, is all I'm saying. So sometimes I'm just like, and I want women empowerment all day. Tessa's a fucking badass. I always say that. She reminds me, I feel like I'm watching China sometimes when I'm watching Tessa. Well, she's fucking strong.
I've had several intergender matches. Honestly, I've seen plenty of women work, but Tessa's far away. Like, she's the best one by far. But yeah, and even then too, like, and that even goes with like not just girls, but even just when working like a much smaller.
That's why I brought up Marco Stunt.
Okay, but that's like the extreme.
I know, but I have to make an extreme in order to make that comparison. But
no, to show an example, like certain things I don't like. Like, so if I work Rich Swann, who Mike's working soon too, and like I grab him and I throw him, he's gonna fly across the ring into the turnbuckle. Like, will I really throw him, or he's gonna help me? He's gonna make it look amazing. And so like it's all working, right? So he's getting me over. I don't have to really kill Rich because Rich is gonna make me look. Now when I do that same spot with whatever said girl like an intergender match, if they don't have the same athleticism and ability that Rich does, it basically just kills that illusion that I just created by beating everybody else. You see what I'm saying? So that's where it gets
it gets a little sticky.
Yeah. The momentum goes out the window, basically. Yeah. And what I meant by feud was, because I know it wasn't technically a feud, but what I meant by feud is the fact that you guys were still interacting with one another. And, with Impact, not to throw shade at them or anything, but I know most of the time some of the some of the matches or the interaction between people never really went anywhere anyway. So you consider it a feud, you don't have to consider it a feud, whatever. But that interaction you had with Tessa definitely stood out to me. But yes, let's talk about your matches also with Bobby Lashley. And you guys were two behemoths going at it. So how was it like working with Bobby Lashley?
Oh, it was good, man. It was good. Actually, too, Bobby was way better than like some too when he was ECW champion and stuff. And obviously he was in the season and was just kind of getting a big push before he was, really ready for stuff. And obviously he'd been wrestling a lot long at that point, but I still didn't know. I didn't think he'd be as good as he was. And also I didn't know how much he'd want to, like, that's one thing too. I'm like, I'm known to, like, no matter what, I want to go. I want to go get my shit in. I want to have an awesome match. I want to do a bunch of stuff. Like, let's go to work. So like, whenever I'm like, like I get the vibe that this guy's going to be kind of like kind of lazy about it. Like turns me off. Like, no, man, I want to get hyped up and be excited about the match. And no, he was, and it was a real fun match. And yeah, it's cool. Right out the gate, pretty much, he pushed me right to him and had me go around him twice and pretty strong. And I was really happy. And yeah, I'll see you. Like, he's over WWE as a champion. I'm the one that sent him packing from Impact.
You had a great career over at Impact Wrestling, but fast forward, man, the wrestling world is actually just talking about it. He's going to AEW, and eventually you show up at AEW. You made your AEW debut at Double or Nothing. That was their pay-per-view. You were the surprise final entrant in the Casino Ladder match, where you were accompanied by Taz, and basically establishing yourself as a heel for the company at the time. What was it like just being a part of the company right out the gate, man? You joined AEW, so you're starting off fresh, and you're now this monster heel with Taz.
Well, so there's a few different changes that happened, which made it like kind of bittersweet. So like, I hadn't signed any deal with AEW. I talked to all the companies. I'm more likely was going to go to AEW. Whenever we broke stuff like, I signed to AEW, I hadn't signed anywhere. I hadn't even gotten a contract.
I even got on Twitter.
Everybody thought they were sliding, but like I hadn't even gotten a contract offered to me. I had numbers, but just via email. It's not actual anything legal. So I was like, I'm probably gonna go to AEW. I don't know. So that weekend, my last weekend in Impact, I tore my bicep. I had surgery on that. So that was a delay. And I wasn't sure if it was torn. I didn't know what to do because I had all these offers, and like I was totally on offense with everybody who was contacting me. And now I'm like, great, now I'm damaged goods. No one's gonna want me. Usually when that happens, your offers or contracts rescinded, and it's kind of like, oh, well, hit us up in 3 to 6 months. We'll see. You know what I mean? So I'm freaking out, thinking, great, now I'm not gonna work for the next few months. My opportunities will be gone. Like, what am I gonna do? So I was gonna try to fave it at first. Like, I'm not gonna say it's torn until I know for sure it's torn. If I'm gonna have surgery, maybe I'll skip the surgery and I'll just have a freaking botched left arm, like which would drove me nuts. But
I wasn't sure if you're going to bring that up, but he was rehabbing. All this was happening.
So when everybody kept saying I was signed to AEW, I was saying no too, because Impact was still going to sign me. At the end of the day, they were still going to sign me, and they were supposed to offer me something there in person and paper, and they didn't.
We're waiting.
Everyone was saying, "Oh, I signed to AEW." Like when I came back for the match with RVD, it was so awkward backstage because like that's right, like literally right after the match happened, everyone started like saying I wasn't even going to AEW. And I didn't know, and I see my phone is blown up, and I'm like so pissed because my thinking was, okay, look, I'm going to go to Impact, or I want to go to AEW. If Impact still offers me a deal, at least I have that to barter with the AEW. They're like, hey, if you don't sign me, I'll just sign back to you, and you guys don't get me at all. And then worst case, I'm like, if they don't take me or they don't want me, and don't give me like change the offer, then I'll just stay in Impact and I'll just do Impact. Like I'm not like I'm unhappy there. Then at least I still have a job and they're there. And originally too, the idea was for me to come out if I stayed and celebrate with Tessa since we're friends, and I thought the celebration when she beat me, and I was going to celebrate her as champion, and then I was going to take her out, and then that was my heel turn in Impact, and then I was supposed to beat her for the title at the following pay-per-view.
I didn't. Wow. See now that we're talking about kind of like how that happened, and I understand that it's that suspension of like reality. I need to know, like I know it's not real, right? But so, I need to be entertained. So I love that.
And wrestling too, like there's always a lot of ideas or things that are going to happen that you don't ever believe until it actually happens. So anyways, I ended up getting the offer. I signed it, and then they hit me up. They're like, hey, there's always rumors that you hurt your arm. Like, is that true? And I was like, yeah, I did. I'm getting an MRI though. I don't think it's torn, whatever, blah, 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 blah. So then I told Tony, I talked to Tony about it a couple of times. I finally got the MRI results. I'm like, yeah, it's torn. I have to have surgery. And I was like, I'm debating not getting surgery, skipping. He goes, dude, don't. And then this would put me over huge for AEW. He goes, don't worry about it. Because I'm sure you're worried about, getting signed and having a job. He goes, go get the surgery. We'll still sign you. We'll still pay you. We'll still take care of you. And whenever you're ready, just let us know. We'll bring you in.
So Brian was at home. So all this happened. When did you have your surgery? Was it January?
January 28th.
28th. So January 28th, he gets, and then so he gets signed for AEW. He gets, and around that time, he's getting his surgery.
So yeah, my contract started February 1st.
So he's rehabbing, and that's another thing. Big shout out to AEW. Didn't have to do that, right? But they just believed in him so much, and then they didn't want him to go anywhere else. That they're like, no, we got to get him right now, or else we're not going to have him. And so they sign him. He's rehabbing. 2 months later, pandemic hits.
6 weeks later.
6 weeks later, pandemic hits.
So if I would have skipped the surgery,
he would have been at home anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So either way, it worked out because, everybody was at home. And so during that time, then he was able to rehab. The only thing, right, we talked about this, and I don't want to take over your interview. It's just because obviously he's my husband and I know him. What was it like for you coming out? And I can't remember, but there wasn't an audience, right, when you came out?
It was just the indie extra talent.
Yeah.
So, and that was the thing too.
That was hard, right? What was that like for you?
There's so many, it was bittersweet because it was cool, but obviously
you didn't get that sound.
And more so, I was more upset about it because I was going to get to be able to surprise, debut while I was hot from Impact, and I got hurt. And then even before that, a year earlier, I was supposed to be a surprise entrant in the Battle Royal at the first ever Double or Nothing, the first AEW show. And Impact pulled me off of that when they found out I wasn't winning. And I remember they threatened to sue me and sue
backstage
AEW.
in Vegas, yeah.
2 hours before the show starts, and they pulled me off. And they're putting me over huge. I remember Cody and Nick and everyone talking to me leading up to that show. And they're like, look, we want to give you a match. I was like, go on and insult you, just put you in the Battle Royal. We'd rather you have a real match, but since you're not signed with us, we can't have you beat any of our talent. He goes, but we don't want anyone beating you. And I was like, okay. He goes, that way for the Battle Royal, he goes, we'll make you look strong. I was eliminating 12 guys. He's like, you can kill all of our guys, you can eliminate all of our guys, and that way, obviously you have to lose and put over Page to face Jericho. He's like, but at least I'm losing by getting thrown on the top, so it's like I'm getting beat. I'm just losing the match. There's a difference there. Mm-hmm. And I tried to Jericho and Kenny Omega were both talking with Don too, and people Impact, and trying to work it all over, and it wouldn't. And even then,
it created a little bit of heat.
There was some verbiage in my contract, and even with the connection with Lucha Underground, because that's how Pentagon and Phoenix were working that show, and they were still with Impact technically too. And so there's some loophole where I think if they would have tried to take legal action, nothing would have happened. That's why I wanted to do it, but Tommy Dreamer and Billy Gunn pulled me aside. He's like, look, man. He goes, you're too good of a talent to be in this position. He goes, and what's going to happen is you're just going to piss off both companies and have heat with both companies. It's and you don't want to be, have any doors closed on you. So I just took the high road. I was like, fuck, I got to drop out.
You were going to eventually be, and it was amazing.
Yeah. But I could have came out because even people in the match didn't even know I was in the match. That's like how under wraps, which is so hard for this day and age. So the pop I would have gotten.
Nobody knew.
And I couldn't even keep up with the Impact World title. And I said that too. I was like, if we can work that out, that benefits Impact greatly.
And lo and behold, right? And fast forward, now they're working together.
Look where we are now. Look where we are now. If you think
together.
I haven't given Don a fucking earful every single time I see him. So I went from debuting to, then that was the original idea. Also before the torn bicep was I was going to debut with Don, and he was going to be like I was still under Impact management. And he was bringing me in. They were going to have this big thing where they were trying to sign me, but Impact wouldn't let me in, and Don would bring me in as Impact guy, wherever I'd be the heel Impact guy, kind of like they're doing now. And then Kenny was going to turn heel and then join us, and then me and Kenny be in the same faction. So that still kind of happened just in its own right, with the Elite. Mm-hmm. And then I ended up not getting a debut till Double or Nothing. And I got paired with Taz, which was random, and that was a week before they called me up, oh hey, we're going to give you Taz, we're going to put you Taz. I was like, oh okay, whatever.
Whose idea was it to pair you up with Taz and AEW? It
was Tony. Tony wanted Taz to manage somebody. And I remember Taz was supposed to just be a commentator for a second show that got postponed. Actually, I'm assuming that's Rampage. It's about to start now. But yeah, it was supposed to start in the spring of 2020. And it didn't because of the pandemic. And Taz I'm not really much of a manager. I haven't really managed anybody. I did Samoa Joe for a little bit. And they're like, well, we really like to see you in a manager role. And he goes, well, there's only two guys I'd really like to manage. And he said that'd either be Jeff Cobb or Brian Cage. And they're like, oh, well, that's great because we're actually bringing Brian Cage in. We're thinking about having you work with him. So that worked out well there. I debuted and it was cool. It blew up online, obviously, but to not get that, to get teased from that big surprise pop reaction a few times now from the original Double or Nothing to my original debut. And like it was definitely bittersweet. Like, it was awesome, but I was like, man, to come out to, fake applause, if you will.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, what goes through your mind too? Because like when you don't have people there just kind of cheering you on the way that you were used to, does it kind of take some energy out of your performance as well?
For sure. And it made me way more nervous just because it you don't get that switch. You know what I mean? That adrenaline switch turns you into Brian Cage, at least for myself. So I was a little I guess uncertain, unsure of how it would be. But no, the match turned out great, and I was happy with it. And the whole run we had there, the hot shot of me to go fight Moxley, to give Moxley big win.
And eventually led to you actually even being awarded the FTW World Championship.
Yeah, and that was actually a last minute thing. That wasn't supposed to happen either. So Renee, Moxley's wife, got sick with COVID. So then he couldn't come, and they're trying to figure out what to do. And the Bucks and Kenny and Seth all come up with good ideas. And then Taz was like, "Oh, you don't have the FTW title. We can always do something with that." So instead of going into detail about it all, so all these cool different match ideas, then they went with Taz's idea to bring the FTW title in and just award it to me. And then the only plus to it was Tony, because he was a mark for WCW and ECW. He's a big fan of both those growing up, so he thought it was cool to have it in, and because WWE never trademarked it. And they were going to do this reality show. It was going to be almost like a cross between Tough Enough meets American Gladiators, but it would be kind of a work. And I'd pick a bunch of higher up independent guys, and they basically run this gauntlet and series of stuff. And then it was going to be commentated by Starks and Taz. That's why Starks started doing the commentary on Dark. And then they were going to try to get Bill Alfonso to referee it. And then I was going to be like Shao Kahn on top of the mantle, waiting for, because whoever won got a shot at me for the FTW title. And then I was just going to beat him. So that was and I was okay, it's kind of neat and cool and different. This was going to be a complete separate show from Dynamite. So it's like an actual TV show. So it's an extra gig, an extra job, an extra money, whatever. That's kind of neat. All right, let's rock. And then it just ended up never happening. And then they never did anything with me with the title. So I was like, why do I even have this then if we're never going to do anything with it? So I am actually super stoked, jumping ahead, to not have that title anymore, to not be part of Team Taz. I've always wanted to be on my own. I think it's dumb. I have enough. I mean, my whole career I've been solo. Nobody else, let me just put myself over for a minute. Nobody else looks like me, and definitely nobody else can move like me that looks like me. And I feel like I stand out on my own enough, and I don't need a faction or a team. And I actually prefer being babyface so much more than being heel. So all those things put together, I'm ecstatic to finally be on my own a year later, or over a year later. And yeah, hopefully everything will start to finally flow. Because I feel like I haven't even begun to be normal Brian Cage at AEW. I've had some really good matches. My match with Paige at Double or Nothing was fantastic. But I feel like this is the largest audience, that I've worked in front of. So I know not all of them know me. But I feel like the ones who don't know me have no idea, what I can do on the normal or on the regular, that from the fans who've seen me PWG and Lucha Underground and Impact Wrestling and everything else. So I really just want to get that ability to just show, I just want a bunch of 5-star matches. I just want to get paired up with somebody who wants to go, and then just have some decent time to actually go out there and just wrestle. Win, lose, or draw. I just want to go out there and just finally start wrestling more and more and more. And because I just feel like that's the only thing that's missing. The treatment there, the company itself, everything's great there. I just feel like the high and the fix that I get and that I need from wrestling, I don't always get from there.
I will say this, you've had some interesting feuds even while under Team Taz. You had the feud with Darby Allin, who actually came out of that all right because, he also teamed up with Sting, and you guys had that tag team match with Ricky Starks. And I thought that was so well done. It was so well produced.
I thought it was not just because it was our match, but I thought it was the best cinematic match that there's been, WWE or AEW. And I think too, because it was one of the few matches that actually looked cinematic. It looked like a movie. It wasn't just shot like a movie. You know what I mean? In the entrances that we did, and all the shots and the cool angles, where we had the zoom cam fly over the ring, and then to me and Darby, and they did so much cool stuff with that. I was really happy with that match. That was a lot of fun. And obviously to get to work with Sting was cool. And, to get Scorpion Death dropped by him, and then obviously to give him his first bump and powerbomb him after 6 years, of his injury.
Yeah, that was devastating, by the way. I saw that. I'm like, oh my gosh. I was like, he broke his neck.
Yeah, there was. I mean, yeah, no, and I have still plenty good. You know, my match with Darby I liked a lot. I have I like my match with Seidel, which was funny too. Seidel was the first match. Everyone wanted to see me work Bobby Lashley in Impact, but Seidel was the match I really wanted to have in Impact when I first got there. And then I kept on asking for like a more real match, if you will. And they're like, oh, well, everyone you want to work as a heel. And like, oh, you know, we need to work a face. Like, oh, okay, Seidel just came. What about Seidel? And then they gave me that match. That was like one of the first matches I was really excited about at AEW. But yeah, no, we've had fun there, and I try to get the most out of it when I have a certain dark match. If the guy, if he's not a signed talent, I know who he is or he's good. I usually always give him almost like one of my faults is I give people too much stuff, but just because I want to be like I can't get my shit in, they can't get their shit in. It's got to be kind of a give and take a little bit. So I'm usually known to be very selfless to a lot of the wrestlers, which is awesome for them. But then some higher ups will look at that as a negative, where like I should just be more dominant. But I'm like they just give me a better matchup. Like I'm not going to get over by going out there. If people think that I'm just some big bodybuilder, unathletic guy that can't do anything, and I just beat everybody in 2 minutes by clotheslining them and powerbombing them, well, that's exactly what I am. Like that's all it looks like. I'm doing that because I'm going to blow up in 2 minutes and I can't do anything, and I don't know how to wrestle. I'm like, whereas if you give me something great, then I can get over from having a great match and then make the other person look great by almost beating me or whatever if they want to protect me. So,
but yes, Brian, now let's talk about what recently transpired. July 14th, Fyter Fest Night 1. You lost the FTW World Championship to Ricky Starks, your former partner. You were hit in the head with a title, the FTW title, by Powerhouse Hobbs, and then you were immediately kicked out of Team Taz. So now, not being a part of that team, I'm sure you're chasing bigger dreams, bigger goals. You've got other opportunities coming your way. What's it feel like now to just do your own thing and stand on your own?
Well, like I said, just started, and it's great. Like just to be back in normal gear, not have to always wear orange or black now is great. I got new music, which is popping. Obviously, I'm not done with Team Taz. I'm out of Team Taz. I'm not done with Team Taz. But, I mean, then we're going to hit the ground running. And that's the thing, too. There's so many great talents in AEW, and there's so many first-time ever matches or just matches I'd love to have again. And I haven't got to work anybody. And I'm like, man, there's like from, Angelico and Jack from Lucha Underground and Pentagon and Phoenix and Pac, obviously. And, of course, the mega match with Kenny Omega. I'd love to work Paige again. Any match that you're ever in, single or tag with the Bucks, is always a surefire winner. I had a great match with Cody. I think the only one where you almost choked him out. But there's some great, Orange Cassidy and Trent when he comes back from his neck injury, and then so on and so forth. Then obviously, you have all these new guys coming over like Malachi Black and
so
this
cool.
plethora of talent that I'd love to work with. And I feel like I said, not only have I not scratched the tip of the eye, scratched anything of just me being me and be able to get my stuff in and have my matches, but then the amount of talent and the amount of the roster we have, I barely work with anybody in comparison.
So it's safe to say that you're really excited to be able to have these new opportunities, not being kind of
everyone wants to pick him. Like I had an amazing match with Swagger. I'd love to work with him again, and obviously I've never worked with Wardlow.
If you could pick just one guy that you want to work with next, though, I know you mentioned all these names, but there's one guy that you want to have a very lengthy program with. Who would that be?
Oh, I mean, I guess I have to pick one guy for sure. I have to get built up enough to make it make sense. But obviously Kenny Omega, just because that's been the one, obviously like one of the best. But that's been the little dream match everybody talks about, makes all gifts about.
Even before we even were signed, posted, anytime he's posted anything with Kenny Omega,
and it's just the whole Terminator clap thing, which now I got to get back because he's not facing, and I got to get that back over so we can have the dueling Terminator chance going.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's that's the one I want to get to, but it's got to be built up right because my use hasn't been terrible in AEW, but it's not on the same stature. I felt like I was almost more over in some regard at my end of my tenure in Impact than I am now, which is weird. Like I'm more well known now than then, but I feel like my status in the wrestling rankings world, if you will, was higher than it is now.
Now there's this new awesome, possibility of him doing really what he wants. So it's kind of nice to see that. And also now we have the fans out in the audience, now consistently.
Yeah, that's
so
cool
that
too,
changes it. I feel like his wrestling has changed in a way. I feel like he comes back happier, right? I mean, his mood is different in the ring. You see that because now the fans and the audience are a huge part of wrestling. And a lot of times people forget that's really important. And I think the pandemic really was able to shine a light on the fact that, wow, without an audience, like, how do you even know if what we're doing is working, right? So now you have that, and then you hear it happen. You hear people booing or cheering, and then Brian's there, and then so now like I'm at AEW, now that you can work something out based on that. So I think it's going to be really good. I'm excited to see him on his own. I think he needs a personal ring announcer, but whatever. I don't fucking know. I don't book it there.
I agree. And you mentioned we, Melissa, but it is we, because you and Brian are a power couple. And I want to talk about that because, we were teasing it earlier. I was going to mention it.
He's mostly the couple. So
no, but I was going to mention it. You both met at Lucha Underground and started dating, but while you were in Impact Wrestling, you guys actually had your wedding ceremony there, right? The marriage was honored. It was seen on Impact Wrestling. Brian, you proposed to Melissa during the tapings. And, all kinds of crazy stuff was going on even when you guys had the ceremony on television. But, yeah, let's talk about how you guys both started dating. Like,
what was the most unique wrestling wedding?
Yeah, the best wrestling wedding.
That was a very unique wrestling wedding for sure.
Right. Because we didn't get married in the ring, like a lot of times you see that happening. Yeah. It was completely like a shot on a different day. It was so early, right? We were all out there like 5 in the fucking morning. It was, I had to be up at 5 in the morning because I have to put full face and makeup on. So like we're in Vegas.
Pretty,
so the girls had to be up like hella early because we had to get, and I'm feeling bad over here because it's a 4-hour wedding. Everybody's like up, like what makeup at what time? Like I don't fucking want to do my makeup.
There's a big like you even broke on the dirt sheets like plenty of Impact stars complained, and there was like no because we were there early and there for a long time. There's no food or water.
No,
I remember Ethan Page and Jimmy Jacobs got into it. Remember that?
Shit!
Like it was a big ordeal.
But when you guys watch it, go back and watch it. Ethan does his whole like spiel, and he has this moment. He was fucking really mad going into that.
Yeah, they got, and he didn't even do anything wrong. And everyone was just high stress, but
it
was so really well put together, and it involved everyone's storyline. It was great.
It was really cute.
But I don't know if did I ever confirm you. Everyone who was part of it there all got a bonus for being there. You know who didn't get a bonus? I was like, what? I was like, it might have been our wedding, but it wasn't really our wedding. It was your guys' single.
I know. We found out later. I didn't get a bonus.
Wow. And so you guys were the ones that were actually having the ceremony, and you guys didn't get the bonus, but everybody else did. Ain't that a bitch? Wow.
It's interesting, like I never thought that I would be like here talking wrestling, doing any of this, and so it's been an interesting ride, and it all changes. Everything has been, there's always been it always develops into something new. I always feel like we're doing something new and learning things about each other. I mean, marriage is really, really hard. Being in a relationship when two people are A-type personalities, where we're both in a way very selfish, and I don't want to we're not narcissistic, but maybe in a way, I know entertainment could be a little bit like that. We're into ourselves, we both go to the gym. We both.
Hey.
I have to flex all hard. Like our daughters flex like Papa, and she'll like do this. I don't know why little kids do that, but yeah, that's me trying to get a muscle out. But no, it's hard work because we're both trying to do stuff, and then sometimes it's not trying. Obviously, he's doing much more right now. But like I personally was used to traveling all the time and doing so much more. Now I had to reroute things. As a mother, I've been a mom now for 3 years. Things have changed. I'm still working. I worked on Impact right out of having Skylar. Actually, in Lucha Underground right out of 4 weeks after I had Skylar, I was at Lucha Underground, pumping milk in between takes and doing Lucha Underground with the faja on, like a waist trainer, to try to, because I had trying to keep my uterus from falling out my asshole because I just gave birth, So I mean, it's always been, because I've always been that way. So we're both that type of personality. It's awesome, but sometimes we can butt heads. Because
no relationship is perfect, though. No relationship is perfect. So we all go through our ups and downs. But
it's awesome. Like he motivates me. Like he doesn't let me get lazy, which it's sometimes I get mad at him for certain things. But I'm like, oh no, he's right. I gotta do that. So he's always trying to inspire me. I mean, when I started in the indie world, in PWG, he's the one who got me on PWG. Which, by the way, I didn't get paid to do that. So he's right. I didn't care because I wanted to go out there. I wanted to experience like what they were experiencing. I wanted to know what indie wrestling was, because I know that indie wrestling was Lucha Underground.
You started calling me about like indie dates and stuff.
Yeah. And so how we started actually talking is because I trusted him. I don't trust a lot of people, you know, and so I trusted him, and I saw that he was always out there, because the thing is, Brian's grind is so hard. I feel like harder than any other indie or wrestler that I would see. Like, he was just always on the phone. He was like booking stuff, and I'm like, oh, and he knows how to talk to promoters, because during Lucha Underground I was getting hit up by promoters like crazy, like, oh, can you do this? And not like crazy, but like they started asking, can I do stuff, right? And some people are kind of creepy. Some promoters, I don't even know who, like, I didn't know anyone, but some promoters just seem like so sketch, right? So I message him and say, hey, well, like, can you help me? And so I remember him picking up the phone, and he was at AAA, he was in Mexico, and he picks up the phone and he's like, yeah, I'll talk to you. And he's like using Mexico minutes, you know what I mean? That's how you knew it was serious. Like, he's spending real money to have a real conversation with me. He's like, oh shit, $5 to talk to Santos? Cool, I'm gonna talk to her. So that's the first time I actually got to interact with him, and he would get me booked. And then even to this day, I tell him, hey, what do I do? Like, should I chart? And he just does everything for me. So he kind of manages my money and my bookings in the indie world. So,
yeah, and I think both of you together kind of help each other out in your own way. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So you guys are both a great tag team, solid tag team. Since we're talking about wrestling here, you guys are a solid tag team.
We tagged once together, and we're undefeated.
That's true. You guys did. So congratulations to you both. And Brian, for anybody that's interested in following more of your career, they want to know more about what's going on in your life, where can they find you online?
They should already know, right? They should know. They should already be following me. But if not, Brian Cage on Instagram, Mr. GMSI_B Cage on Twitter. It's a terrible name, but it's blue check mark, so I can't change it. I have a Facebook too, but I never use Facebook, so whatever. I'll go get some merch at ProWrestlingTees.com/Brian Cage.
We want to thank our special guest today, Mr. Brian Cage himself, Melissa Santos' very own husband, who's such a lovely guy. With that being said, thanks so much for being a part of the show, man. We really appreciate it.
No problem. I knew I eventually would be. I just couldn't be one of the initial guests. I feel like that's a cheat, you know, because I'm her husband. So it's like, but I was like, it'll be neat because now we can both share a screen and a microphone, which also most people can't do because it's always someone's here and someone's there. So, you know, and when we were originally going to do it and Sky was here too, I was like, no, maybe it'll be even beneficial too because we have Sky. You know, she may not have. Yeah, but she might not. So well,
I mean, it's cute like for a moment, but you know, it's harder that way with the baby because they want to take over, and she likes seeing herself on camera. So it would have been just like her face, like right here the whole time. But yeah, I'm glad we finally did it.
Better late than never, and you know, now you guys have a nice. Look, you're already on season 2, and I'm babyface Brian Cage, so.
It actually worked out perfectly because now, you know, he's finally babyface. He's about to take off and do more amazing things. So we're so happy to see you do all this. We'll have you come back, hopefully, when you get the AEW title, when you beat Kenny Omega's ass, and, you know, we'll have you here.
Oh, yeah. There it is, already manifesting it. Nice.
Right. That's it. Thanks so much, sir. You take care. You have a great one. Stay on your Grizzly.
Get it, pop. Let's get it.
Yo, that's what I'm talking about.
Hi, and welcome to Trademark Expediters. Whether you need a trademark or copyright, we can help make the process easy and affordable. Protect your company name, logo, or slogan with the trademark. Protect your songs, books, photographs, and other creative works with a copyright. Complete our easy online questionnaire in 15 minutes or less. Clear pricing, no hidden fees. 100% satisfaction guaranteed. Get started today. Learn more at trademarkexpediters.com or call one of our friendly specialists at 1-800-510-1082. Affordable, easy, expedited service. Trademark Expediters.
Yo, turn it up.
Hard work, dedication, and progress. Stay on your Grizzly.
Yeah.
Thanks for checking out another Grizzly Podcast episode. We'll see you next time.